Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Kepler College Open House. My name is Donna Young, and I'm the president of Kepler College, and I actually teach a couple of the classes here as well. And joining me is Carol Tebbs, who is our director of education. She deals a lot with the students, and she also teaches a few classes and oversees our programs, many of our programs. And Inga Thornell, who Carol, I'll back up to Carol. Carol's been involved with the college for many, many years. She served as the president. She served as the board chair. She's been involved since day one. And Inga, like me, was once a student in the academic program and now teaches many of our courses as well, mainly focusing on the area of history. I don't know, Carol, do you want to do a bit of an
Well,
introduction?
I think both of you have degrees from Kepler.
Yeah,
Yes, we do.
from back in the day. When we get to the classes, I'll invite you guys to talk a little bit more about what you're
Okay.
doing, but we'll jump into the outline of our program. So the number one question, of course, that you might have, we know there's lots of options out there. Why would you choose Kepler College? So the number one thing that I think it differentiates us from a lot of the classes that you'll see out there is that we've got smaller class sizes. Most of our classes are around the not more than the 30-person mark, and many of them are much smaller. So you get a lot of feedback from your instructors in real time. And yeah, that's an important differentiation from, I think, a lot of the programs that you see out there. You get direct feedback on your assignments from your instructors. And in the entire program, you're going to see multiple instructors. So you get a whole bunch of different perspectives. And even within a class, you might have a couple of instructors who, even though they're teaching the same material, might have some different thoughts on how to do interpretations and things like that. So that's something that we think expands your thinking and helps you to develop your critical thinking skills. Of course, on top of learning the fundamentals of astrology, we also have a number of courses that are themed towards your professional development. So after you're finished with your education, we have the classes that can help you develop your professional practice. And that's a big, important thing because you can learn all the technical skills, but if you don't know how to launch yourself as an astrologer, you might have done all of those classes for nothing. All of our classes are recorded, and you have access to the classrooms that you're in for up to 3 years and sometimes longer. So you can access the material at any time after you've registered for a class. Kepler College is aligned with a couple of organizations. The NCGR PAA gives us a level 3 equivalent. If you guys are familiar with NCGR, it stands for the National Council for Geocosmic Research, and it's one of the accrediting bodies. If you have a diploma with Kepler College, you can just write and enter directly into the level 4 equivalency. So you have to take the level 4 exam, but you're considered to have a level 3 equivalency. And the same with the AFA. If you have a diploma from Kepler College, they are recognizing those parallels in terms of the membership and the advanced membership. So those are just automatic equivalencies in recognition of the standard of education that we have. I'm going to start talking about our fundamentals because, of course, for many of you, this is where you might start. And so there are 4 classes in our fundamentals program. They're all 10 weeks long, starting with the fundamentals, the foundations, the introduction to astrology. And this class covers, the basics of planet signs, houses, aspects. There's chart patterns in there, a really basic introduction to essential dignity and debility, and the movement of the planets to some degree, planetary condition. So that's fundamental. The only thing you really want to make sure that you know going into that one is that you have memorized your glyphs. And if you're not sure about that, we've got some free classes that you can take to help you with that. And then the next class is the Fundamentals 2, Interpretation Essentials. Do you want to talk about that one, Carol?
Yes, Enid Newberg and Lori Waters are teaching that class for the fall term. I, in the past, have taught that class. But we've, in the past year, we updated that class and indeed the fundamentals track. And so you're getting into the next level of understanding, following the helmsman, the ascendant, and looking to where its ruler is and following the path to the other dignities and debilities that are shown by the planets, so that you have a layered cake, so to speak, and you have to blend the strengths or weaknesses of those things to make your final judgment.
Yeah, and you're also talking about chart shapes in that class, and you're adding on some extra points into the chart. Of course, all of the details about those are on our website. Inga, I know you don't teach 103 anymore either, but do you want to touch on what 103 covers?
Let's see, now it covers aspect patterns, more about dignities, a lot of using accidental dignities in charts, and then adding even more points. And
yeah,
we have more points each time. Yeah,
it's a real kind of like a grab bag of all these different part of fortune is covered in here. The lots, there's a whole bunch of different midpoints are covered.
Right.
A whole bunch of different little, as Carol always says, 101 is the cake, 102 is the icing on the cake, and 103 is the sprinkles that are helping you just expand your learning. And then 104 is a practicum. And so that's a 10-week chart synthesis. No new learning happens in 104. You are just practicing and synthesizing everything that you learned in the previous 30 weeks of learning. This is the only certificate that we have where the classes are all 10 weeks long. So this is the only, at the moment, the only 40-week certificate that we have. And it is a requirement for the diploma.
Donna, do we have a course or two and a quiz so they can see where they are?
Yeah, and I will, that's further along in the presentation. So
okay.
We'll show them where that is. So there might be some of you here today who already have some of this fundamental information. And we do have a quiz that you can take. You can test out of 101 and 102 and move on to the more advanced levels if you're able to get to a certain level in those test out quizzes. And then you can challenge the exams for a small fee. So that is something that is available to you. We also have, as a requirement for the diploma, our prediction certificate. This is a 30-week certificate. Required in this certificate is transits class, progressions, and solar returns. These first three here that you see required. And then these are practicums you have to take, either the rectification, Carol teaches that one, or you can take applied forecasting in client sessions. And these ones you might probably take towards the tail end. And then you can take two of these other electives that we have, which working with the moon, electional astrology. Oh, I think we've got one in there twice. Ancient predictive techniques and application, zodiacal releasing, mundane astrology, rectification, horary, and mundane astrology. So there's a bunch of options that you can take in that certificate. And we have a number of other certificates and more in the works. There's more coming up that aren't even listed on here, but you can also take a certificate in counseling and relationships, professional development, AstroMapping, alternative traditions, astrological heritage, and astrology of healing. There is a diploma that's in the works for this astrology that will expand on the astrology of healing. So if you're interested in what would be like a medical astrology, we're not going to be calling it that exactly, but it is understanding medical astrology. This would be the place to start. And you don't have to take an entire certificate. You can just take classes within these certificates if there's anything that interests you, although some of them do build upon themselves. So you need to make sure that you have the appropriate prerequisites. Now, to earn a diploma at Kepler College, you need to have that 40 weeks of fundamentals that I talked about earlier, the 30 weeks in the prediction certificate. And so those are the 2 full certificates that you have to have. Then you also need to take a 10-week class in chart calculation, 10 weeks of history. And Inga teaches most of the classes in that module. I don't know, Inga, do you want to talk about the history component and why that's important to us?
Yeah, when Donna and I took the Kepler program, we started with a year of history, and it entirely informed the rest of our education. It was brilliant. So we have included history in the diploma, and I teach it in 3 5-week segments, which go all the way from prehistory to modern. And then there's also a self-study available for people who want to just, keep hacking at it while they go.
Yeah.
Is that all 5,000 years?
and I'm sure that's how long it feels like it's taking when you're doing it. Yes.
It is really fascinating to understand.
It is fascinating. It's dense. I understand that. So I always give people more time if they need it, but I have never had anybody say it wasn't worth it. So
yeah. And just to understand where a lot of these techniques come from is really important as well. Chart calculation is another one that a lot of people kind of flinch at when they see you have to learn to calculate a chart by hand, which sounds like, why do I need to do all that math when I have a computer? But going through the process of doing that, even if you never do it again, teaches you so much about the movement of the planets and the influence that they're having on each other and how important things like planetary speed are. And that's another class that, even though for many people, there's a bit of a reluctance to take it because it doesn't feel like it's going to help you interpretively, but then you learn that it actually does. I think that's true about both chart calculation and history and astronomy. You don't realize what's embedded in there that's going to help you along the way.
We have a great teacher who holds your hand through and gives you the confidence to say, you can do that.
Yeah. And there's
a
nice
worry.
workbook that goes with the chart calculation class too. So you can kind of work at your own speed through that. Additionally, we ask for 10 weeks of astronomy for astrologers. We've got a couple of new instructors coming up that are going to be teaching this class, and I'm really looking forward. I think they're going to make a great pair that will really, another class that gives you a lot that you don't think, without taking it, that it's important interpretively. But really, if you think about how astrology started, it was by observing the movement of the heavens, right? And so in some ways, to get back to our roots of that, and not just be looking at computer screens all the time, but to actually understand what's going on in the sky, super important. Inga is also involved in the counseling class. Do you want to talk about?
That's right. Yeah. Yes, Karen and I co-teach the counseling consulting kind of class, and we look at a lot of charts. We have a lot of different kind of issues to look for in charts, and we both have pretty extensive counseling experience, so we can answer a lot of questions that people have about how to present things to clients.
Yeah.
Which includes the next topic, the ethics.
Yeah, the ethics.
Right.
We talk about ethics, I'm sure, a lot in the consulting and the counseling classes. We talk about ethics all the way through, but we're also in the midst of creating this specific ethics class that we want to make sure that everybody passes before they get their diploma. And the plan is that that's going to be a free class that you take on your own, just because we think it's so important. And then you can take 15 weeks of electives to round out your certificate, and that can be in anything that interests you.
Your diploma?
For the diploma, yeah. Yeah. Then we also have an advanced diploma. And so that is the full KPDA, the regular diploma. And we would ask 5 weeks of horary, 5 weeks of essential dignities, 5 weeks of mundane, 5 weeks of professional development, an additional 5 weeks of practicum. So whichever one you didn't take in your KPDA diploma, and then 5 weeks of research. Then 30 weeks, that is a concentrated study. So that would be taking a full certificate in one of the ones that we have available to you, and a final demonstration of learning. You also have to do a final demonstration of learning in this one. I think we missed that here. And that's just, that could be in the form of doing participating in our student showcase that we have at the end of the year, where you're delivering like a mini webinar to the public, or you could do a written article. Final demonstration of learning in the advanced diploma, you might come on as a TA to help the instructors with the classes. And that would depend on the class that you're in, what might be expected of you. This term, these are the classes that we have coming up. We always sell out of the Fundamentals 1 class. So this is the first time that we've decided to offer an additional one. This one that with Denise and I will be on a Monday 4 o'clock Pacific time. This is that bonus one that we've added in for, there's lots of people that can't make it on weekends, so we're offering that one. And then the Sunday one that will most likely be the larger one with Sam Reynolds, myself, and Callum, whom many of you probably know as the host of our YouTube channel, is the TA in that class. So both of those should be pretty fun. And then Fundamentals 2 with Enid Newberg, who was also a former president of the college and has been with Kepler from the get-go, or practically from the get-go anyway.
From the get-go.
From the get-go, okay, for very, and that's going to be 25 years next year, by the way. We're coming up to a big anniversary.
My goodness.
And Lori Waters is co-teaching with her, and Lindsay Mitchko is the TA. And then we've got Bear River and Jen Zart teaching 103, Tamara McGillivray and Morgan Garriott doing the chart synthesis. And you're going to see in here, there are many graduates that are showing up in here. So, that's a pathway that students can take. Denise is a graduate. Of course, I said I'm a graduate. Callum is a graduate. Lori, Lindsay, Morgan, and Tamara are all graduates, either of the academic program or the diploma program.
Donna, while you're here, mention why there are 3 teachers in some of these classes and not the others.
Yeah, these classes, the 101 and the 102 are the ones that end up being pretty large classes typically. And so just to make sure that that the students are getting as much attention as they need, so that there's a lot of interaction. So you'll find that in each class, we usually have a discussion forum and quizzes that you do, and homework assignments that need to be marked. And so the TAs will often help to monitor those discussion forums and interaction with the students, as well as participating in the live classes. And so when we get farther along, we lose a few people each time. So these classes, as we move farther along, don't tend to need 3 people. So we don't, we can just go ahead with co-teachers there. Oh, I just saw a question pop up. Fundamentals 2. I don't have that off the top of my head. Can I
believe they're doing it at 9 a.m. on Sundays at 9 a.m. Pacific time.
Okay, thank you, Carol. Yeah. And then these classes that, here again, we don't always need to have 2 instructors because the class sizes don't tend to be as large. Lori Barnes is teaching marketing for astrologers, and I saw somebody who took that class post on Facebook, that class changed their whole trajectory. They were already a professional practicing astrologer, but that class like just changed their whole professional path.
And
Lori
indeed,
Barnes,
she's head of the marketing for Kepler College.
yeah,
So you know her.
exactly. Yeah, you've seen her work. And so she definitely knows what she's talking about. So that's a great class. Composite and Davison charts with Dorothy Oha. Dorothy has been a practicing astrologer for many, many years, and relationships is an area of expertise for her. We haven't had a composite and Davison chart class for a few years, so I'm looking forward to bringing that back. And Introduction to Counseling, you heard Inga talk about that. Karen and Inga will teach that together. Vocational Astrology, a great class that Enid does. This one would be an elective. As with the Illuminating Relationships one, although they would apply towards, the relationship certificate if that's what you're working towards. And the practicum, that's a requirement in the predictive certificate. Working with parents and children with Cornelia Hansen. She's been teaching that class for a long time as well. Another popular class. Kathy Rose has been with us for a couple of years, but she's a very well-known astrologer. Some of you might be familiar with her. And then AstroMapping for beginners. AstroMapping, also known as astrocartography, it is really looking at the best places to be, to live, to travel, to learn, all of those things. Really a really popular topic right now. So that if that's something that interests you, the beginner class, and you can't take the other ones unless you have the beginner class or proof of understanding. So if that interests you at all, you want to take that beginner one. And then Inga, do you want to talk about the astrological heritage one?
Yeah, that is the last of the series of the 3 5-week courses. And that covers, of course, from Enlightenment to Modern, which are all times when astrology had lost a lot of its prestige in academic circles. And then at the end in modern, it starts coming back a bit. A lot more people are becoming more interested in it. We talk a lot about all the different ways that happened.
Yeah. And Inga, it's not necessary to take these in the order of history.
No. People take them in all different order.
Yeah.
Yep. Good point.
Gray Crawford is going to be teaching zodiacal releasing, and that's another very popular topic right now. Probably not something that you'd want to take as a beginner, but if you have a pretty solid grounding, this is a traditional technique, you'd need to know pretty good astrology to take that class. Horary astrology, also not really a beginner class, although you don't have to have it really advanced skills in order to take it. So if you're, a solid beginner, you could take horary astrology. And horary astrology is a class where you are asking a question and using the chart to help you find the answer. So it's a great skill to have to find lost objects, should I buy this house? What other kind of questions?
Notice on all of the, in our store, everything at the lower right hand, there it's noted beginner, intermediate,
Yeah.
advanced. So you get an idea of where you fit in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I should back up a little bit with zodiacal releasing to explain how that is, because zodiacal releasing, if you're not familiar with it, it is a system where you're where it's telling you where there's certain times in your life where you're going to be, how do I say that? How do I sum this up?
The influence of a particular sign or planet.
Yeah.
So it's a timing system.
It's a timing system. Yes, definitely. Transits, most of you are probably familiar with transits, of course. That's where the planets are today in relationship to where they are in your natal chart. And so that's a great course, introductory course, but intermediate. You have to have your basic skills, but it's an introduction to movement, the movement of the planets. Celeste Brooks teaches that one. And you do need to have a good understanding of the transits in order to take the next class, which is the Progressions in Solar Arcs class with Joseph Crane. And Enid Newberg is helping Joseph out with that class as well.
I've been seeing a lot of beginners start with the heritage class lately, and that's been really good because it gets them into how the Moodle system works and gets them, kind of approaching some of the terminology and what's expected.
Yeah, there's a
Kepler,
number.
so, yeah, I was impressed with how many people are first time.
Yeah,
speakers.
that's a good point, Inga. There's a number of classes that you can take without having your fundamentals that
Right.
will really help to ground you a little bit deeper into what's to come. You don't necessarily have to start with fundamentals.
Right.
History is a good place to start, chart calculation, astronomy, all great places to
And there's mythology as well.
Mhm.
That's true,
Yeah.
but not this term.
This is a class that we have coming up that remedial measures, but you had to have taken the beginner class in order to take that, the astrology of local space. And then these are the classes that are coming up in our astrology of healing certificate. Traditional disease tendencies in medical astrology with Lee Lehman. That's an advanced, both of these are advanced courses. So you have to have, you don't have to have necessarily taken the classes that they've offered at the college, but you need to, if you don't know whether you have what it takes, we can just communicate with the instructor. Just shoot us an email.
It helps to be really comfortable with your rulerships and your signs and your planets. Yeah, for those.
Yeah. So we can assess that. We don't have a system in place for assessing the astrology of healing students yet, but that's in the works. And if you want to enroll for classes, you can just head to our store on our website. KeplerCollege also, before I go on to this other stuff, does anybody have any questions about our program? It's been a pretty quiet chat. Okay, let's see here. Is the challenge test the placement test? Yes, it is. So that will help give you an idea where you fit into the system. If you have some background, if you've been, doing some self-study and think you have a pretty good understanding, but just want to test out where you go, that's where you would go.
Donna, in the future, are you going to talk about the spirit store?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't remember whether that's on this presentation, but yes.
And Ruben, yes, you do probably need a mic and a camera. You can leave your camera off, but we need you to be able to ask questions during class. That's one of the points of being in a class.
Yeah. But I mean, you can even join a class from your phone.
Right.
Yes, all of the classes are recorded. Most of the classes, it's not a big deal if you miss, but sometimes, if you can't make any of the live classes, that's okay in some classes. But certainly for the practicums, you need to make sure that you can attend at least most of the classes.
Yeah.
There's a question about fundamentals 2. Yes, you can take fundamentals 2, but you need to pass the
challenge exam.
The challenge test.
So if you go to the store, there's a test out that you can purchase for $100. You can take the test out. And the nice thing about the test outs, the challenge exams, is what they're called in the store. So for example, if you purchase the Fundamentals 1 challenge exam and you didn't pass and you decided, oh, I think I want to take the whole class, that $100 would be applied to the class. So you're not really at a risk. If you pass and fail or don't get a high enough mark, or if you yourself think, if you decide, if you look at that challenge test and say, nope, I don't know this stuff, you can apply that $100. So there's not really a risk into doing that. Yeah, sorry, I'm stumbling. The placement test is free.
Right.
The challenge exam is $100. Where is the placement test located on the site? Carol or Inga, can one of you look that up and
Yeah,
put that link in the chat? I don't have the ability to do that while I'm screen sharing.
so in the catalog on the site.
Okay, it should be in the store. It's still in the store. So
Oh,
you have
okay,
to
great,
go
great.
in and you have to go in and select it out of a store item, but it's just under a free item. We do have an astrology book club. That is just kind of a fun thing that we do. It's on Facebook. It's a private group, so we don't have a bunch of lurkers coming in, but each month Misty will introduce a book that you can choose to read or not read, and then we invite the author to come for a Q&A. This week or this month it's going to be Wanda Seller, who is going to be talking about chart shapes. Wanda just did a webinar for us this morning, actually, and she ran out of time to do all of the Q&A. So I suspect there might be a lot of people that come in to join the Q&A for that one. You can take the challenge exam right away. Yep, as soon as you get it, you can jump right in and start answering the questions.
If
Any
they pass that, Donna, does that count for their diploma? If they've passed the challenge test for 101?
Yeah, it
Okay.
does.
Judy asked in the chat if there are any other classes that teach the math.
No, that chart calculation one is the only one.
Right.
It's a good class. Don't
But
be.
I'm
Yeah,
going to tell
don't
you a few
worry.
things about chart calculation. If that time doesn't fit for you or however it works, that workbook, it's called Simply Math, is excellent. And you might be able to just buy that workbook and work your way through. And the chart calculation is another exam that you can challenge. So, if you think that you don't need to have guidance, you can do your chart calculation that way. You can do it completely self-study and challenge the exam. Or if you have learned it someplace else, you can challenge the exam as well. So there are options in that regard. It doesn't prove to be a popular enough class that we would have multiple instructors for it. So could you tell us which are the courses that it makes sense to take as a beginner or late beginner aside from fundamentals? I always assumed the fundamentals was the entry point, but I was interested to hear you say this is not the case. It is the entry point, and it depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to earn the fundamental certificate, then you probably want to follow the order. But if you're just trying to supplement your education, let me go back to the classes, and you're just studying on your own, you can take any of the classes that say beginner on them. So obviously these ones you'd want to take in order. Any of the professional development classes you can take, because you're not really using astrology so much. This is really just like, how do I market myself? How do I create a YouTube channel? How do I write sun sign columns? Those types of things. I mean, obviously you're not going to sign up for how do I write a sun sign column if you don't understand your astrology, but
Right.
you'll be able to figure out which ones are a good fit or not.
The heritage classes are good for getting into it. Also, Carol's literature classes are excellent for getting into the whole thing. So they provide background without really having astrological labs that you have to figure out.
Right, as mythology.
And I think it's worth mentioning here too that you can sign up for a class, and if you're not interested in getting a certificate or a diploma, you can just audit the class.
Right.
So, you'll
have access to it for 3 years.
Yeah.
All the materials. Yeah.
So you can be as committed or not committed as you want to be. If you're anything like me, sometimes doing all of that homework when you have a really busy life is like, I just want to learn this stuff.
And indeed, in that 3 years, you have access to the videos too. So the teacher, you can see teaching and the students responding.
Yeah, exactly. So, regardless of whether you're ready to jump in and work on your diploma, I think if you're just starting out, I do think it's a good idea to do the homework and get the feedback, even if it's not your intention. Because I teach 101 and I've taught it for so long, the first class in the fundamentals, I've seen it happen where some people come in and they're right away, they're like, yeah, I'm going to get the advanced diploma. And then, a couple of weeks into the class, they're like, whoa, this is a lot of work. Because this is something that we didn't talk about, but we should.
Yeah.
It because you have assignments and or quizzes and discussion forums every week and reading, it takes you need to expect to spend between 8 to 10 hours a week on your class. So that's a pretty big commitment. And so for some people, they think, they're just going to jump in and do it. And then they realize they didn't have an extra 8 to 10 hours in their life. And so then they back out. It's like, you know what, I'm just going to audit this course. And then we have the opposite happen where people come in saying, I'm just going to try this class and I'm not sure. And then they get excited about it and they end up thinking that they do want to take the whole diploma and they move forward. And so then, good thing that they did all of their assignments, because otherwise they would have had to take it again. So I think if you have the time to do the homework, do it, because you don't know what's going to happen with your time. 8 to 10 hours, including class time, Marie. Yeah.
It's not only the fundamental courses, the other classes have homework and reading as well.
And I'm going to say, we say this 8 to 10 hours, but so much of it is going to depend on where you started, right? If you've already read a lot of astrology books and have a pretty good foundation, and the biggest thing is, do you have a good reading speed and comprehension?
In English.
In English, yes, in English, important. Because for some people that 8 to 10 hours can be cut in half. But then for other people, other people tell us that they spend more time than that. But those are the people that, are very detail oriented and are probably reading the material more than once.
So audit is certainly viable.
Yep.
Don't ever feel bad about switching to audit.
No, exactly. Exactly. Lots of people just audit classes. So that's not a problem at all. Okay. Any other questions before I move on to what else we're up to? All right. I was talking about the book club. That's just a fun club, free, of course, Facebook group.
We have another club, though, the speakers.
Yeah, I think those are on here too, coming up. We've got a solar fire workshop with Rhonda Buttery. And so this, if you are just purchasing your solar fire software, or maybe you've had it for a long time and don't know how to get the most out of it, this is a good workshop to take. 3-hour workshop. You could learn a lot. Here's where we have our free courses. So we've got the free course in Babylonian mathematics. This free course, Introduction to Astrology, is the one where if you're not sure if you have your glyphs down pat, and even if you're signing up for the first fundamentals class, you just want to maybe take that until you've got that mastered. And then this take the quiz is the one where it's the placement quiz that will tell you, which level you might want to come into. We've got a bunch of free webinars coming up as well: death charts, prognostic power, and financial astrology with the crypto Damas, Robert Weinstein, if you guys know him. Rod Chang talking about fixed stars. We also have a Toastmasters group, and this is an any level group. To my knowledge, it's the only, well, I'm 100% sure that it's the only Toastmasters group that's just for astrologers. And it doesn't matter whether you're a beginner or you're an advanced. It's not like all we do is talk astrology, but it's a place where you can develop your public speaking skills and use your astrology, and people will understand you. But it's not just, you can speak about anything. And yeah, it's a fun group. It's an hour-long meeting that happens on Wednesdays. and it also helps you to develop leadership skills. So we've seen a lot of people, or a few people, come out of the Toastmasters group that, you know, really are have gone quite far, quite fast in the world of public speaking in the astrology community. So if that interests you, that is another great spot. Kepler College just sponsors this group. It's not run through Kepler College. We're just the sponsor. So, you know, you're just paying regular Toastmasters dues, etc. There's also a Uranian astrology group that meets monthly.
And these are not a part of certificate or the diploma.
No, just interest areas. Yeah. And they have speakers that present just on the topic of Uranian astrology. That's another certificate that we have in the works. So for more information, here's all of our links and places to go.
And every Sunday we have a chart practice.
Yeah.
Sunday at 5 Pacific.
Yeah, that's
anyone of any level can join, and we look at all kinds of strange charts that have come up, you know, news-wise, as well as a couple of horrors sometimes, mystery charts sometimes, and astro twins.
That's a great point, Inga. That's available to any of our Kepler College students.
Yep.
And when you're a Kepler College student, you also have access to the Kaylee library, or the online version, at least, of the Kaylee library. Well, I shouldn't say that. If you lived in Olympia, you could go to the Kaylee library and walk in the door. You'd have a membership as a current student. There's all kinds of benefits that come with being a student at Kepler College. So if you're not sure who to contact, this info@keplercollege.org email is a good address to send anything to, and they'll forward it to the right person and make sure you get in touch with who you need to get in touch with, or get your question answered. Is there any other questions before we call it a day? All right. Did I miss anything, you guys?
Yeah, it's the Sunday chart study is in a Zoom link that's available from, I think it's on every page of
It's in every class.
Yeah.
In every classroom. Yeah.
So if you're enrolled in a class, you will see it at the top of your page on any class you're in.
Yeah. And that is, beginner students often find that a little bit, oh, it's over their heads, because they're just
right. But if you listen, if you lurk for a while, you'll start picking stuff up.
Yes. And I think that's the same. I mean, when I first started going to conference, everything was over my head. But you still go, right? You still go and you listen, and eventually you put all the pieces together. That would be the same with the Sunday chart practice.
First astrological group I ever joined was all guys doing sports, you know, predictions, and I'm not interested in sports or predictions, and it was still, you know, I learned a lot.
Yeah. Patricia, did you sign up for the Sunday or the Monday class?
But yes.
While you're waiting for her reply,
once you get your little link, you will see the link to the Sunday.
And I'm asking you that question because the Sunday class, if you're in the Sunday class, all of the students are in the Moodle classroom, but not in the Monday class, just as we do some tweaking. But you will be certainly as soon as that's open. Yeah, if you signed up, so you probably signed up for the Sunday one. Yeah. So in which case, yeah, that classroom should already be open. Okay. You should be in there. But if you're not, if you can't find your way there, contact the registrar, and you can just use that info email for that.
And going forward, they certainly will find out by going through the Kepler website to find what courses are coming up for winter term. And in other words, a month or so, that'll be up, so you can plan ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, before too long. Well, and there is in fact a place where you can, I'll pop the link in the chat where you can see all of the, I'm going to say hypothetical classes that are coming up for the next term, so that you can plan out your whole, your year. And it's just a Trello. It's on, if you go to our website, you'll find the link there too, but I'll just pop it in here. These change all the time, so it's not carved in stone, but this is kind of what we're planning, the planning calendar. But things happen, instructors move around, and we decide that there's a better flow of things. So it's not carved in stone. But I think we got everything here today, but certainly
fall term is carved in stone.
all term is carved in stone. Cornelia's class, that is the
Parents and children.
parents and children. Yep, I'll just pull that up.
Bye-bye, Marie. Thank you for joining.
It's September 24th at 5 p.m. Pacific. All right. Well, thank you. If there's no other questions, we will close it up here. But
Well, we haven't talked about the spirit store.
you're right. We haven't talked about the spirit store. All right. I'm going to pull that up. We at KeplerCollege, we've just recently opened this up. So you can buy your paraphernalia once you become a student. And you know what, even if you're not, I don't know if you guys seen me drinking out of this or whether you can actually see it. But it's a cup with the table of essential dignities on it.
Can't see it. No,
You can't see it?
no, we can just see the
Well,
cup.
they can't see the detail.
Oh, okay. Well, it has the table of essential dignities on, which I always joked if I was going to get a tattoo, it would be the table of essential dignities, which for those of you that don't know, it's a table of, I mean, it's one of the things that tells us about planetary strength and condition. And so this is like a little thing that astrologers use all the time. And
Usually on
You'll
ratty
learn it in
paper.
fundamentals.
Yep.
yeah. So all right, I just linked that spirit store, but I'm going to share my screen again so you can see the Kepler things that you can order. So you can order t-shirts and mugs and notebooks and scarves. We don't have tons and tons of stuff, but at least here you can just go in and order whatever size you want, bags. Whoops, here we go. All that promo stuff has to come out. But this is the essential dignities, table of essential dignities that we're talking about. And you can choose which one you want too, because there's two pretty popular tables of essential dignities. So you can choose which one you want. Handy, handy. Oh, Martha, you make astrology themed pottery. I would love to see that. That sounds fun. All right, next year, I don't know how many of you are planning on becoming students, but next year we're actually hoping for our 25th anniversary to have a live graduation and symposium. So that would be an exciting thing for you to think about if you become a student this year. We'll probably have that in September, but details to be confirmed. I'm just excited about it, so I have to share.
Yes, and it would certainly be on Zoom as well as live.
Yeah.
So to have everybody, 25 years is a milestone, and we're way ready for it.
Yeah, for sure. Fantastic. Well, thank you. I look forward to seeing some of you in 101 class and in other classes as well. I'm sure I'll see your name. So please reach out if you have any questions. And thank you for joining us today.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.